My brother, Leo, didn't even have the balls to call me. He sent a text at 6:14 a.m. while I was drinking my first coffee. Don't show up to the launch party. Having a blue-collar dropout in the front row kills the visionary aesthetic we're selling the venture capitalists. I'll mail you a $5,000 check for your troubles. Consider our partnership dissolved. Don't contact me. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't scream. I just felt a cold, sharp clarity wash over me. I replied with two words: understood. Enjoy. Leo was the prodigy, the golden boy with the Ivy League degree and the expensive haircuts. But while he was busy playing networking golf and sipping scotch with investors, I was the one who had spent 20 years in the trenches. When our father walked out, I dropped out of high school to work 16-hour shifts at a grease-stained garage just to keep the roof over our mother's head. Every cent of my overtime went into Leo's tuition, his textbooks, and his starter lifestyle. 3 years ago, Leo came to me with $1 billion logistics algorithm. He had the vision, but he didn't have the math, and he certainly didn't have the capital. I was the silent partner, the ghost in the machine. I spent my nights building the entire back-end architecture from scratch, coding until my eyes bled, while he spent his days taking the credit. He insisted my name stay off the official filings for the brand's sake. He told me a dropout's name on a patent would scare off the big fish. He promised me 40% of the company once we went public. Last month, the valuation hit $120 million. The launch party at the Pierre Hotel was supposed to be our victory lap. Instead, Leo decided I was a ghost he wanted to exorcise. What the visionary forgot is that I'm not just a mechanic, I'm a strategist. And he'd been building his empire on land I owned. The entire cloud server suite, the heart of the app, wasn't registered to the company. It was registered to my private LLC, paid for by my personal accounts, and hosted on a proprietary server cluster I had built in that same garage where I used to fix cars. I wasn't an employee, I was the landlord of his entire digital existence. At 6 p.m., while Leo was stepping into a custom-tailored tuxedo, I sat down at my workstation. I didn't delete the data, that's amateur. I simply revoked the administrative access tokens and initiated a security lockdown due to a breach of contract. At 8:30 p.m., the moment Leo stood on that stage to give his keynote, the massive LED screen behind him didn't show the sleek interface of his revolutionary app. It showed a single, brutal line of text: Service suspended, proprietary rights dispute. Access denied. The app on every investor's phone turned into a brick. The live demo failed. The tech genius stood there like a deer in headlights while the room went silent. My phone became a vibrator. 156 missed calls, 300 texts. What did you do? I'll have you arrested. You're destroying everything. I didn't answer. I poured a glass of 18-year-old scotch and watched the chaos unfold through the server logs. The next morning, Leo showed up at my door, disheveled and smelling of failure. He started screaming, calling me a thief and a traitor. I didn't raise my voice. I handed him a folder. Inside was the $5,000 troubles check he'd sent me, torn into confetti. Underneath it was a new invoice. Since he had dissolved our partnership, I was now charging him market rate for 3 years of server hosting and intellectual property licensing. The total, $12.5 million, payable within 24 hours, or the source code would be permanently encrypted and the keys destroyed. You can't do this, he hissed. I'm your brother. No, I said. You're a client, and your account is severely delinquent. Get off my porch. By noon, the lead investors pulled their funding and filed a fraud suit against him. Mom called me an hour later, hysterical, screaming that I had ruined the family's future. I reminded her that the family had no problem watching me break my back for 20 years to fund their luxury, But they had a huge problem when I finally stopped being the floor they walked on. Leo's company is in liquidation. He's currently living in mom's spare room, facing a mountain of debt. Meanwhile, I've just signed a contract with his former lead investor to launch a new platform, one where my name is the only one on the masthead. He wanted me to stay in the shadows, so I turned off the lights.